Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Now today in this episode I'm going to give you my 1, 2, 3 for the Cheltenham 2023 Gold Cup. So the three horses that I think are the best three bets for the race and reasons why I think they stand out amongst all the horses that could line up in the race. Now recently, over the last couple of weeks, a couple of horses have come out of the race like Long Press, who's sadly going to miss the race, and he offered a lot in terms of what he could offer during the race, and that'd be gutting for Venetia and Charlie Deutsch. So Long Press, that's sadly that he's out now. But I'll give you the main three horses I'm going to be looking at for the race are Galopin Des Champs. He's obvious pick, obviously. He's 13-8 favourite. Protectorate around 9-1 and Conflate at 14-1. So they're the three I'm going to be looking at for the race and why I think they will fill the first three positions. So start with Galopin Des Champs. He's 13-8 favourite. I think he has standout credentials, obviously. I do think he'll win the race. He is a boring selection, you can say, but I can't see any negatives to him. His run at Punchestown in December showed that he'd grown up a lot over the summer, and he's just maturing at the right time for the race. He settled a lot better, which is a great sign for him seeing out the Gold Cup trip. And he just jumps fantastically, travels well. There's no negatives to him. He just seems to be maturing, and he's the right age for the Gold Cup as he's a younger type. So I can't see where you can go wrong with Galopin Des Champs. So I do think he'll win the race, and I think he will win it very well in the end. He just seems like a superstar and a very talented horse, and hopefully he gets compensation for falling at Cheltenham last year. Now the horse I think will come second is Protectorate at 9-1. Now the Skeltons I think have sussed him out finally, and he's now an 8-year-old, so he finished third in the race last year, and he would just be a year further on down the line in his career. He'd just be a stronger, more mature type, and I think he can improve this year and finish second in the race. Now he was really impressive at Haydock, although Aplutard pulled up and the race, you could say, fell apart a little bit. He still was mightily impressive, and I think this has been a goal again since that race. He hasn't had a run since, which I think is ideal for him, as all of his best performances are when he's been fresh. He's got good Cheltenham form, so there's no issues about that. Hopefully he jumps a little bit better this year, which I think he can do, as he was so quick over his fences at Haydock. I just think when he's fresh, he's a very talented horse, and I don't think he's quite up to Galopin Des Champs level, and I think Haydock might have been more of his Gold Cup, but I still think he can, if he reproduces that run at Haydock, he can definitely finish second in the Gold Cup this year, and I just expect him another solid performance from him. He doesn't chuck in many bad performances. I think 9-1 is a good each way bet if something went wrong with Galopin or he wasn't as good as we all expect. My final one is Conflated, who's 14-1. Now I think he'll finish third in the race. He's had 2 runs this season, and it's quite clear that Gold Cup has been the aim all along, and Gordon Elliott has been slowly bringing him along for the race. I think 14-1 is actually a massive price for him in each way shot. He would have finished second in Ryanair last year, which his trip is far too short for him, and I was a doubter of his when he won at Leopardstown last year, but he's proven me wrong. I think I was mightily impressed with him at Leopardstown at Christmas time. His jumping was very quick. He just obliterated the race apart halfway through with his jumping. Although he didn't stretch away from the end, he won the race much further out, and I just think there's lots more progress to come from him. He is a 9-year-old, so if he's got any chance to win a Gold Cup, it will be this year. He will be too old next year, so I think this is all be all and end all for him this year in the Gold Cup at 14-1. O'Leary seems like they're going to go straight there with him, which I don't think is a bad thing. Whether Jack Hendy's back or Davy Russell's going to ride doesn't matter to me. I think 14-1 is a great each way shout. I think he lacks the slight superstar potential of Galopin Des Champs, for example, and that's why I think he'll just finish in the places. But I still think at 14-1 it's actually a really good value bet when you look at the others around him. So they're my 1, 2, 3 for the race in that order, and I'll just give you some reasons why I haven't picked some of their rivals. So Noble Yates, he's second favourite around 7-1 currently. I was really impressed with his turn off at Aintree, but I think he actually prefers flat tracks. And although his turn foot is brilliant, he does make a few errors with his jumping, I think. I think that could cost him during the hectic Gold Cup pace during the race. Mid-race, he might find himself further back than ideal and give himself too much stew turning in. So I just think positionally he'll be disadvantaged for the Gold Cup, which is why I would take him on. Braceland's Game, I tipped him up for the King George at Kempton this year, and he won really, really well in the end. But that was his D-Day, and Nichols would target him for the race. He made it clear that was his big Gold Cup for the year. I just don't think he will be able to reproduce that form at Cheltenham for the Gold Cup. So I'd be a massive. I would lay him all day, and I don't think he'll even finish in the places, even though he's third favourite. I think he's around 9-1 currently. So I think Brazen Game, I wouldn't back him at all for the Gold Cup, even though he jumps brilliantly, as everyone knows. I just don't think he'll be able to reproduce that effort in the King George. Aputard season has been obviously really poor, and has been very complicated with injuries, etc., which I don't think is ideal at all for the Gold Cup. And even though he's won well fresh before, I just can't see him being able to beat a fit Galopin de Champs, for example, Protectorat or Conflated on his first run of the season. So although he was mightily pressed last year, and I backed him for the Gold Cup last year, can't be backing this year, even though he's around 10-1. I just don't see it. And I don't think he's actually good value, because I just can't see him reproducing that effort on his basically seasonal reappearance. Statler, he ran really well against Miller Indo at Tremor, but I just think, although he had to give him £8, I think he was a much younger horse, and if he was Gold Cup potential, he should have won that race. Even though the race probably didn't plan out as Paul Talon would have liked for him for win purposes, he did run really well. But I just think his form is nowhere near as strong as lots of other horses in the race, and I just think he'll be found out on the day. Hewick, same with him. I think he's really good, and he's improved a lot over the last year, but I think his breeding, and he'll just be found out on the day. He will not have the class to cope with some of these others in the race. And finally, Manila Indo. Yes, he did win at Tremor, but he's 10 now, and I just can't. He was too old. He'll be beaten by an improver, so I can't have him for the race either. So I'm actually very confident my top three for the race, and I think Galopin de Champs will be very, very difficult to beat. But I do think Conflated and Protectorate are good each way bets and can fill the places. So they're my Gold Cup selections, and I'll be going through all the big races individually. So make sure to subscribe, and please let me know your comments and any questions you have for me, and I'll see you all next time.